The show you are about to listen to is intended for mature audience only. There will be things said that may not be appropriate for younger audience and may offend you. We at Whatever Talk would like to apologize in advance. But really, get over it.
Ashamado, folks. How you doing? This is Whatever Talk, the show we talk about whatever it is that we seem to be talking about at the time. That is how you say hello in Omoro. That's how Ashamaa. Ashama. Zach and Dave?
Dylan.
That's Dylan. I'm sorry, Zach and Dylan. And these are just some nobodies I just happened to come across and ask them if they want to be on the show. We talking about whatever that's on your mind. Speak your mind. Don't be shy. This is your time to shine.
Yeah. We are Some Nobodies, a media group that we put together. Me and Dylan are the co-creators of Some Nobodies. Within Some Nobodies, we have about 18 voice actors, a couple musicians, a board game creator, comic book artist, et cetera, et cetera. And we started producing content earlier this year. So we have a couple podcasts out just because that was the easiest for us to produce. And Silicon Angels is our, I guess, flagship podcast. That's the one that finished up season 1 recently and has a complete storyline to it. And we're very, very proud of it. It's a script written, but improv pushed, sci-fi, futuristic based kind of true crime story, which is a very interesting found footage style show.
It's about tech support for a sex robot company.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spoilers, but you know that pretty early on.
Yeah, it gets pretty into it and pretty graphic. But yeah, the most of it is people calling in an IT support company that produces sex robots and the problems that the consumer has and how the IT tech deals with that and their attitudes.
Awesome. I have heard the first episode, and I have heard the podcast of, is it I'm a Nobody?
Yeah, I'm Nobody. That's my podcast. Where I'm the host by myself, and I get interviewed by as many people as possible, just really to learn more about myself and to learn more about just people in general. And obviously the hopes is that I get interviewed by Kevin Smith at the end of it. But yeah, that's 2 of our shows. Dylan and I host a show called A Podcast, The Podcast.
Yes.
And
it is impossible to find. Just Google that.
Yeah. It was a funny idea that turned into a very bad premise.
Yeah. Well, no, it's a good premise.
Well, good premise. Yeah, just a bad name.
The podcast is one where we find underappreciated and under-listened to podcasts. We listen to them, play a brief clip, and then have a short discussion on each of them. We try and cover about 7 an episode. We do take requests, so we've listened to a few people's requested podcasts, and we always try to deliver our honest opinions on them. Because there's a lot of content out there, and not all of it's worth listening to.
Each one, and just our musings on what we have thought or heard just in that little clip. So that's called A Podcast, The Podcast Show. We also have a TV show through IBM.TV, and it's called Talking Upstream. Dylan, why don't you explain that?
Yeah, Talking Upstream is about a 90-minute writer's room where Zach and I, alongside a whiteboard, bring 2 underdeveloped ideas that we've had over the week to bear. We discuss which one is probably worth developing further, and then we take the next 90 minutes to develop that idea into something that we can either produce or pitch later on. So this most recent one, Zach brought something that was conceptually boring manslaughter.
A boring manslaughter.
Boring manslaughter, where a boring guy accidentally kills someone and then doesn't quite know what to do about it.
Yeah.
And then I had brought an idea where it is a plant which produces effectively what is a plant-based meat product.
Yep.
And the creators of that trying to capitalize on it. We wound up developing that into probably about an hour, 45-minute long short film idea. And then usually throughout the week, I'll script out a brief scene from the idea that we had the previous week, and we will present it with a guest or, in some cases, no guests at the start of the next episode.
Usually Some Nobodies.
Yeah.
We also have a podcast called Zach and Sue's High Five, and me and my partner, Suzanne, we live in Colorado and we consume, marijuana and a lot of media.
Yeah.
So the concept of the show is that we choose a strain of marijuana that we pair with a group of movies that we kind of talk about, mixed with a little bit of news and media kind of coverage throughout that. And that's just a couple of the things that we're doing. And you can easily go to somenobodies.com and see everything that we're working on. A lot of things that we produce on Talking Upstream, we like it so much that we end up putting it into production as our own thing. And recently we actually just came up with a game show that we're trying to find a way to produce.
Well, I can tell you guys are extremely funny because the last thing you said, that's just a couple of things.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just got it named off a freaking first century scroll of things. It said, that's just a couple of things that we do.
Yeah, we listen to a lot of podcasts and we watch a lot of stuff, and we just want to make sure that we're creating things that you just can't find anywhere. You know, you don't really hear a lot of overly produced sound effects driven sci-fi dramas like Silicon Angels unless you really look for it. So we want to make sure that there's things out there that we would listen to as well as other people, and just things we find engaging.
Yeah, we're not much fans of low effort content.
I like that. That's one of the reasons why I came up with the idea of Whatever Talk.
Yeah.
Like whatever talk is not like what you just said. Like, we are not structured.
Right.
But what I like about Whatever Talk, which you're on, is that I myself actively look and talk about the things that nobody else is talking about.
Yeah.
And I love talking about forbidding topics.
Dylan and I, we kind of take those concepts and then weave it into some sort of fictional story so that we can talk about those things and also, be as commenty and clever as we think we are.
Oh yeah. We most definitely make fun. I want to know, are you the same Nobodies from Kingdom Hearts?
No.
No, that's our biggest competitor right now.
We're in full possession of our hearts.
Yes.
I was hoping I was about to be having talk to some Nobodies here. Like,
no,
that would have been extra dope.
They're a little harder to get a hold of.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, because next time you guys got to bring your heartless with you next time you come on the show.
Yeah, they don't make as many podcasts as we do.
Nah.
But I do want to talk about some things pertaining to the entertainment world, since you guys are heavily into the entertainment world. Mm-hmm. This has been going around for like the last few years. People are in an uproar about actors acting like something they're not, which when you say it out loud, it sounds highly crazy. To get more into detail, I think it's one of the most recent ones was Halle Berry dropping out of this movie because herself is not a transgender playing one.
Right.
And therefore she felt that she had to drop out because she's not, because of the uproar of people. And I'm like, Halle, no. And anybody else that did it before you and that's going to follow after you, no, because you're an actor. That's your job, to act like somebody else.
Well, I don't know. I think that I'm kind of on Holly's side here. So if you think about it, yeah, their job is to act, but to act is to know about something enough to be able to reproduce it. For Halle Berry to know what it's like to be transgender, to live that life, and then to try to reproduce that story would come off hollow immediately. So me going into that movie, knowing that it's Halle Berry playing a transgender, I'm going to say, like, well, that's weird. There are a lot of transgender actors that could have played this role and could put actual feeling and actual emotion into it instead of an actor who's just pushing a different emotion into a box that is, I think this is what transgender people feel. So I think that, there are millions of actors out there of every kind of race and creed. And if you think that, like, say, someone were to take an African-American story and then have a white person play that story,
too late.
Well, yeah. Yeah, true. Yeah, obviously it's been done and it's been poorly done. I can't remember a time that a white person portrayed a black person accurately and have been like, wow, that was riveting. They're a great actor.
Robert Downey Jr. played the best black actor I've ever seen.
The last time it's generally been viewed as like not having ended their career.
Yeah. I just feel there's so many people out there.
There's a difference, though, I think, in the portrayal in Tropic Thunder, because it's not only, yes, he's in blackface, but it's also a commentary on the use of blackface in Hollywood. And it's not portrayed, it's not portrayed as a positive decision or action in the body of the film itself.
Yeah, true.
So I don't think it's necessarily 100% forbidden entirely, but it has to be very, very carefully and cleverly handled. And I think a lot of writing nowadays does not have the nuance to portray it in a way that it not deserves to be portrayed, but should be portrayed.
Sure. I mean, if you have actual stories and actual emotions that go with something, it's going to feel more real and come off to the audience more real anyway. So you might as well get as real as possible when making a story if the story is an emotional piece. If the story is a joke, then make a joke. That's fine. Do your thing. But if you're trying to tell a real story about real people and real emotions, you might as well get those people. Why not?
Yeah, and you know what? Saying it like that, I hear you and I do get it. I wasn't like totally 100 about the statement, my initial statement.
Yeah,
that's just like basically just kicking off things. But I do feel both parties. My way, well, not my way, but what I said, and I do hear what you're saying, but I also hear it from this point of view, or see it from this point of view as well. For me, I have no issues. If I was the actor / casting director and had say so about that type of stuff on the scene, on the set, I have no issues with getting a black for a black role, a gay for a gay role, a trans for a trans role, or vice, and et cetera, et cetera. I have no issues with that. But what I am all about is, can you act? I don't care who you are.
Sure.
Can you act?
Yeah.
Oh, I agree. Just because you are that person doesn't mean you should get that role.
Exactly.
Right.
That's what I'm getting at. You don't deserve this role just because you are. Can you act?
Right.
And if you can't act, then stop crying about this role. I didn't get this. I didn't write this character specifically for Holly or Robert or whoever it may be. But once I read it, I had somebody in mind, or once they came in and auditioned for it, I was like, oh, they knocked it out the park.
True, but if you are making that story and say you're down to 2 actors and one actor is trans and the story you're telling is a trans role and one actor is not trans, you would probably choose the trans person just because of how much better they're going to accurately portray this role, I would assume. In that scenario, yes. Yeah, and it should come down to their acting talents as well. But to me, if you're telling an emotional story that is about a person's experience or a person's story, to be as close to that person as possible only serves that story more justice. I got a question. Me and my wife was watching, what's the movie? Adam Sandler, Chuck and Larry. Yeah. Vin Rames played a gay in that movie. And my question is to you: if you were let me just put it on me. If I was the casting director and I had somebody who was just as a gay person that was just as butch as Vin Rames is and gay, and then I have Vin Rames. If Vin Rames act out that character just as in this particular scenario, I'm just using this sole scenario, if we could add on later. In this particular scenario, if Vin Rames can act just as good as that gay, I probably still will go with Vin Rames just in that scenario because of the stigma that we already know, the persona of Vin Rames as far as acting wise. I ain't saying I know him personally, but as far as acting wise, he's kind of typecast as the big guy you don't mess with. Right. Yeah. So I guess in this scenario, the reason that the director or whoever chose Vin Rames to use Vin Rames is for the joke that he's gay. Exactly. So if the joke that the person is making is this person is gay, and you wouldn't expect them to be based on their physical experience. And you're like, this person doesn't look gay, but they're gay. That's the joke. I think it's a very poorly written joke. No, that's a bad joke. Even going off the persona, or I guess I keep saying persona, but I guess the typecast that we know of Vin Rames, I thought that was hilarious to have Vin Rames as this undercover fun boy. Now, I haven't seen, I know I pronounced you Chuck and Larry, but is Vin Rames playing himself? No, he's a fireman, which is another stereotype within. Okay. Well, that whole movie is based on over stereotyping gay and the way men and masculinity. I don't know if Adam Sandler that much benefit of the doubt. Yeah, I mean, this whole movie is based on the premise that men find gay men funny, and that's it. This man's gay. Isn't that funny? Let's laugh at this man because he's gay. I just don't find that funny at all. I don't think that there's any character development. It just kind of goes into, hey, let's laugh at this gay person, but let's not even pick a gay person to play it. Let's pick somebody who nobody thinks is gay. So now you're stereotyping 2 different kinds of people. You're stereotyping what a gay person should be, and then what definitely a gay person cannot be, and then you're merging those 2 just to make a joke about gay people, I think. So but when it comes down to a comedy, especially one written by Adam Sandler, you can have a little more leeway there depending on the joke structure. If it is a serious story about a homosexual tale, then I don't think a Ving Rhames will do it, because going into it, you're like, well, this is Ving Rhames.
I think it depends on the writing and the part. If the part is well enough, you can cast Ving Rhames.
Yeah.
Treat it in a certain way.
Ving Rhames been full-blown gay in several movies.
Sure. I love Ving Rhames. He's a great actor. And I just think that there are a lot of gay men that probably could play the role just as well, but they are not Ving Rhames. So I can see the draw of getting Ving Rhames. What I'm saying is, if the joke boils down to the fact that this person is just gay, I don't find that very funny, but some people do. Sure, that's fine. But I think that for what the things that me and Dylan try to create, we try to be a little bit more involved with what the joke structure is, not take such easy jokes.
Yeah, there's a little bit more effort that could be involved, but I understand that some people go to that well. Yeah.
I understand where you're coming from. You know, a little bit more clever with it, I guess, is what you're trying to say.
Yeah, we gotta go like a comedic Black Mirror. We like to really dive into, thought process and really get into some weird ideas that people don't normally think about.
There's humor in treating the strange and fantastical as mundane. If you extract the right element from it, you can get some really good bits out of taking what should be a fantastical element and just treating it just completely straight day to day.
Well, there's actually a lot of comedy in everything. Like, there's comedy in homosexual activity. There's comedy in trans life. There's comedy in everything. But the thing is to portray it the right way and make sure that the joke is what you're trying to get at. And for me, I mean, I'm not speaking for anybody, even all of Some Nobodies, but for me, I just don't normally find the joke of just, hey, that person's gay. That's just not funny to me. I don't really care. Gay people cannot be funny. I've met a lot of gay people, and they're all weirdly different. Mm-hmm. But I do like Ving Rhames. I'll say that.
Yeah, I just use that one as an example because in that particular scenario, me being the director or writer, casting director, I would have chose Ving Rhames versus another unknown butch gay person.
Yeah, if I had written this movie and I was trying to publish and produce this movie, I would definitely go with a star actor. And if my joke was, let's get somebody who does not or come off as gay, be gay, I could see why they would choose a Ving Rhames. Yeah,
that's baby boy stepdaddy. How is he gay? You know?
Yeah. I think a lot of times, especially like the Todd Phillips and whatever, they try to complain that people don't get the joke that they're trying to make, when a lot of people just don't find their joke funny and not so much not get it. No, you're okay. I just think a lot of the crybaby mentality comes from people that don't know how to write jokes very well.
Yeah, I see that a lot too. I do see that a lot too. I do get it. I grew up watching a lot of comedy and horror, so I feel confident in my comedy that I may write for myself, for my skits and all that stuff. And the jokes that I do, a lot of my stuff is dark, but at the same time, I do know how to be light. I got another question for you. Do you write for your audience or do you write for you?
Well, that's a pretty good question. Yeah. I think there is a give and take to both of those, because on one hand, you want your cast to be able to really get themselves into your script and be able to own that part of it, and to be able to come from a place that you intended them to do it. But at the same time, you don't want to be so deep in your own head that you make it inaccessible to someone else. So when we were writing Silicon Angels, a lot of it came to we would come up with effectively a single line joke concept. What if someone calls in because they were a magician and they cut their robot in half and the legs ran away? Cool. What kind of jokes can we think about that? And we were thinking about it. And I'm like, well, we were coming at it from the angle of, what if it's not just the magician calling in, but there's like a field tech out at the magician's show and they have to help him on set. And then meanwhile, the magician's trying to cut in and bump himself and try and get marketing in. And then also, what's just something we can say? What if the GPS is in the torso, so it's in the part that move?
I'm sorry, I just thought about, but this would be like a stereotype / racist joke that only Black people will probably get. But when you said a robot and had the legs and the knees cut off, I just thought about, see, that's your problem right there. You had to get the legs amputated because the alternator is jacked up. But I say that because Black mechanics no matter what's wrong with your car, like you got these 2 flat tires because the alternator is jacked up. Everything has something to do with the alternator when it comes to black mechanics.
Yeah, that's a funny joke.
Yeah, so that's when you first said that a robot and had to get amputation. That's the first thing that went to my head was, the alternator is messing up the rotator cuffs.
Yeah, that's gonna be joke 1 in season 2.
Yeah, right.
Go ahead, you can use that. Go ahead.
But touching back on your question though, the premise has to be something that you do for yourself. You have to love the joke that you're making. That way you want to explore it. You really want to spend time with it. You want to build that world out. So it starts off for doing it for you. But the thing is that you do want people to listen to it. So you want to make sure that your joke or your story or whatever it is you're trying to get across comes out clear. So I think ultimately we do it for ourselves first and hope that people like it.
Good writing is able to bridge between the people who create the content and the people who consume it across whatever barriers that there are. If you're on a theater, it should cross that wall. If you're doing an audio medium, it should be enough for them to feel it through the audio. If it's visual, you have to make sure that it fits that media. So good writing, you can't write wholly for someone else and have it come out quality in any way because you're not writing from a place that you care about. But you can't write exclusively for yourself because you're not writing for yourself if you mean it to be consumed by someone. It has to get across that gap between you and communicate your ideas in a way that both parties can meet somewhere in the middle.
Absolutely. I agree with that. I like to write for myself and, of course, taking considerations of the audience.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, you definitely don't want to end up with like a Jurassic Park 2 situation where you're only making something for money or for other people, even though you know that it's not a good product.
I write for myself, but I call that a diary. Like that is exclusively for me, and it doesn't cross barriers with anybody else. And I have written exclusively for other people. I do freelance technical writing where I will do resumes for people as just a professional gig. And that is me rewriting someone's professional document for their exclusive use. And that is just dull and mind-numbing, and I do it exclusively for the paycheck.
Yeah.
And then I come to do something for Some Nobodies, and I write a fiction or I write some novel or something. And that I try to write for everybody who is going to potentially consume that, and myself.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. So, baby, you say you basically giving people the hookup.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Give me the hookup.
Yeah, we got everything. If you need something, you can come to Some Nobodies, and we'll do it all.
I may have to stop there myself and ask for some help.
Yeah, we'll definitely do what we can.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. That's real cool, though. I like that. Because I spoke about this to a friend of mine, and I'm in a mini series called Change for 10, and it was some behind the scenes stuff, boy. I tell you, it was actually my first time for real acting. Like besides me acting the fool in real life, like I was doing some for real acting the fool on the camera and being serious being a fool. Which is another difficult thing. I just talked about this on the last show that we recorded, is that and the episode is out now. Go listen to it, listeners. What we ain't gonna do, that's the title of it. But I was just saying, like, we gotta I gotta hey, what was I talking about?
You're acting?
Yes, acting. Yeah, I was trying to say a line, but I kept laughing. And I was like saying, like, I gotta be funny seriously, which is, it sounds funny out loud when you hear that out loud, but it's a serious thing that I have to be funny seriously. That means I can't break character, and I can't break character when you say something funny. So yeah, I gotta practice on that.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely a skill.
Yeah, which is I think why we have so many actors, because it's something that we were having a hard time with. So we're like, we need more people just to help us kind of keep this stuff straight.
Hello?
Hello?
All right, this is our show now.
All right,
Zach, what did you bring to the table?
Okay, first podcast I brought was, let's see, this is just a person screaming for 15 minutes.
All right, are you going to act this out, or am I going to act this out?
You might as well act it out, but let's go ahead and play the clip.
All right. 14 minutes, 59 seconds later. Oh.
Bum, 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 bum. I don't
I
know.
don't know.
It's not really my thing.
No.
I can see it being somebody. So.
I suppose someone could be into this, but I wouldn't play this for a party.
Okay, up next we have a call from Silicon Angels.
Yeah.
Ring, ring, ring.
Hi, thank you for calling Silicon Angels Technical Support Line. I'm here to... You'd think I'd have this memorized because I would copy paste it all the time.
Yeah, you've only written it once.
Thank you for calling Silicon Angels Technical Support Line. I'm letting you know this call will be recorded for quality assurance and training purposes. My name is March Book 1. Tell me all your problems, but first I'll need your account name, safe word, and specific model number.
Look, it's an emergency. My alternator's broke.
I don't know that I can make this joke because I'm white.
Oh. All right, well, up next we have, what's the next show we want to do? Hello?
Hello? It says you're connected.
Yeah.
I mean, we can just riff.
I guess we'll just keep going.
We'll give you some free stuff.
Let's see. On the next episode of Talking Upstream, I'm going to bring back the idea of the boring manslaughter.
Okay.
I'm not sure what Dylan's going to bring back, but the idea of the boring manslaughter, just while Dylan's thinking real fast.
I want to do giant monsters like Godzilla, but I want to do it specifically like set in small town America that has domesticated them so they can like farm with them.
What about tiny Godzilla monsters in large town America?
Probably like the size of like a Buick.
Smaller.
Like a T-Rex.
No, like a tricycle.
No, I wanted dinosaurs in Kansas.
I want it to be bigger than a squirrel, but enough where you got to be scared of them. But not too big where you can't go outside.
People are scared of squirrels.
Only because of the Black Plague thing.
Are we doing actual dinosaurs or are we doing just monsters?
Like large version of like dinosaur versions of pet shop stuff.
Like giant gerbils?
Yeah, enhanced.
Cool.
Yeah. But they're like scaly.
It's like that episode of South Park with the giant guinea pigs.
Not everything I say is like an episode of South Park.
No, but South Park did it. There was a whole episode of South Park on it.
It'd be really clever if he just stopped recording.
If you would have made it, sorry about that. I don't know what's happened. I heard all of that, by the way.
You heard all of that? Perfect. You intended that.
We weren't really sure. And actually, sometimes what we'll do is we'll just like start recording and then just let it go and see what we get. Yeah. So that's kind of
that actually worked out. Okay.
Yeah, we can do it anyway.
Yeah, I even tried my hardest to jump in, but I'm like, oh, they can't hear me.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we weren't sure. Like, I don't know if this is still going on.
3 minutes while we were doing that. So, welcome back to our show.
Yeah.
Let's close out. It was really fun talking to you guys. I really enjoy the Nobody podcast.
Yeah.
I'm a question guy. Like, I ask questions about everything, and I like that.
All right, well, I'll have you on there. You can ask me 10 questions.
Oh, awesome. I will write them up because I be thinking about some crazy stuff like, why is awake called awake? the person ain't getting back up no more.
I don't know that one.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, I be having some crazy questions that I know that people are afraid to admit that they think about them too.
Oh yeah.
Like, I know I ain't the only one that thought about this type of stuff.
No, yeah, I asked weird questions. That's why I had that podcast. I'm like, just have people ask me stuff because I ask the weird questions.
Yes, I like that. I really enjoyed that podcast. But let's close out. Thank you for listening to Whatever Talk, folks. I really, really appreciate this because, hey, that shows that you like or interested in something I may be talking about. And that's what I'm all about. Go listen to us on Podomatic, which is the summer home of Whatever Talk, Anchor, and we on various media sites for podcasts everywhere. Google us. We're like the first thing that pops up on Google, which, again, I love saying that out loud. It's like, just Google us. Like, how we going to find you? It's the first thing that pops up on Google. Awesome. No sponsors or nothing right there. Just no ad or blah, blah, blah. I'm trying to get sponsors up there with it, but not yet.
Heard that. I'm with you.
Give a shout out to my family, my wife, my kids. We love you and all the listeners. And I also want to give a shout out to the Nobodies. They are somebody out there, but they are nobodies.
Yes, we are Some Nobodies. And you can Google us too. If you Google Some Nobodies, we show up right at the very top. You
Somewhere in there.
You can go to somenobodies.com. You can just type anywhere podcasts are listened to. Just type in Some Nobodies and you'll see 10 of our shows at least.
Awesome. Until the next time, folks, Whatever.
If you would have made it this far, but then you made it to the end of the show, you can stay posted, but we gotta go. But wait a minute, leave a comment, tell us what you think about it. Come again, tell a friend, tell whoever listening, whatever talk.